I was asked a question today that brought me to tears. And it brought up so many questions that I think we all face in business and marketing. And so I wanted to start a conversation with you all and see if this question has any value for you too. So the question came up in a program called The Embodied Practitioner with Luis Mojica. And it's filled with people who really want to learn how to do business, listening to the wisdom of their body and paying attention to their nervous system and its capacity, rather than doing business in the traditional way of like hustle and grind and push on through and bottom line at all costs. And some of you may know that that's something I'm very passionate about, that I pulled the plug on my business almost 10 years ago in order to really do business in a way that felt more soul aligned, like surrender to the divine, listening to my own natural wisdom within, really being of service, really trying to figure out how to do business differently. And Luis is someone I've found out there in the world who is really doing business differently. So it's been wonderful to learn from him. So today we were exploring marketing and really looking at how does our body respond to marketing and what old stories might we have around marketing. And I've been dying for this part to come up because I knew that I had a lot going on, like kind of blocking me around marketing. So I'm in the process of birthing a new program that is all about death power, very interesting topic where I want to bring people together in community and go through a death process together, because I think the world needs to understand more about death and little d deaths in life and how that can bring so much transformation and power to us. And this has been going on for a long while. We've been trying to birth this. I don't like to use the word launch. I try not to because it doesn't feel as good in my body, but we've been trying to birth this since July, and it is now many months later. So I knew that I had some blocks around marketing, and I could see that there was like some PTSD around marketing from the past and even other stories. So I was very excited to explore this today in the program. And the question that he asked was, how can you trust your instinct and marketing? And that's the question that brought me to tears. Now, the funny thing is, I would have thought I was trusting my instinct. I mean, me trying to do business differently the way I'm doing it now is based entirely on me following instinct and listening and, allowing flow through me in all these different ways in what I've traditionally called my feminine operating system. So the fact that it brought me to tears, that I must not be following my instinct, was deep. So it got me thinking of like, maybe I'm not totally following my instinct, or maybe I'm following it in some places, but there's a next layer of some wounding around it that I need to surrender into even more. And again, I think I'm curious if that question is interesting to you, and or what other places you might have around blocks you have around marketing of like, thinking that it needs to be done a particular way, or that you can't do it in your way, or that no one's going to listen, or it's not going to work. Like, we all have these stories that kind of get coupled with our attempts to do our marketing and share our beautiful work into the world. So it just got me thinking about my own experience around instinct in business, and I'm kind of just going to follow the trail a little bit. So if we go way back, I was a hippie healer, as I like to say, for 10 years doing body work in LA. And then I crossed over into the coaching world. And I was pretty resistant to most everything I was learning about business and coaching. And I had a private coach at the time, and she kept making suggestions, but it didn't feel good in my body. Like, marketing, business, I couldn't even use those words for like, I swear to God, a year. It was a bit dramatic. And I kept pushing back on her suggestions. And at some point, she finally had a moment with me of like, Christina, you're investing a lot of money in having coaching with me. You might want to follow my coaching. And so I did have a moment of like, okay, follow the coaching, follow the coaching, follow the coaching. And I think there was something important about that. I mean, I didn't feel like I was losing myself completely, because I still tried to hold on to, who I was and my ways. But, I was learning a new practice about business. So I had to trust experts. And I look back and I think I was trying to stick to my guns and follow my instinct there, but it wasn't necessarily bringing in money. And it's like, of course that brings up so many other questions of like, is money the only qualifier of what works, right? Really, we all need to define success in our own way. And that's part of this revolution around business that I'm excited to be a part of, as many of you might also be as well. So that was interesting. And then with the same coach, I was, again, sort of trying to follow my way in my own listening, but also trying to follow the coaching. But there was a moment where I was in a group program with her, and she decided to help many of us in this group because we weren't making money at the time. And so she put together an interesting plan, and it required that we had to do what was asked of us. And so in this plan, we needed to market heavily and send out loads and loads of emails. Now, in doing that, I didn't like it. It felt awful. I mean, I think so many of us come up against that. And I did what I was told, and I followed the, I followed the coaching. I did the marketing. I sent out a bazillion emails. And guess what? It fucking worked. I brought in more money than I had ever made in my entire life. And there was a part of me that was thrilled, yes, but there was also part of me that was like devastated of like, it works. And so I think that was a moment where I was like, I guess I can't trust my instinct, because this is the way that business works the best. And if I want to bring in money and that's a goal of mine, then I need to follow that. So that was a moment that I'm kind of like revisiting and kind of reclaiming some power there. And then just over time, I've been in the coaching industry since 2009. So we're coming up on 15 years. So there's times when I've done launches later after I pulled the plug and I did follow my instinct. Sometimes they worked and sometimes they didn't. And those times when I made a lot of effort to put something out into the world that I was super passionate about, and then it didn't quite turn out the way I wanted it to, were kind of devastating. I mean, obviously we put this in the grand scheme of things that there are far worse things happening in the world. I honor my privilege to even be able to be on this journey. Like we hold it all in relativity. Is that the way to kind of say it? Like it's all relative. And at the same time, I put a lot of effort. Like I'm thinking of this, the first time I launched my Dark Feminine program in February 2020, it was a success and it felt so exalted and I felt like fulfillment. I mean, just extreme fulfillment. It was beautiful. And then the second time I launched it, I had this beautiful idea to put together a video series. I was on the Big Island of Hawaii, very blessed to be there at the time. And I made this video series taking everyone around the Big Island, and I called it, I wanted it to feel like you could binge watch on Netflix. I called it Femflix, and it was teaching some basics around the dark feminine, and I thought it would be a really beautiful way to give people an experience of a deep topic that, can be a little edgy for some. And it didn't really do anything. And I put so much work into making those videos and edited them for hours. And then it didn't do much. And so that was a little devastating. I'm not going to lie. I think I'm still kind of recovering how that made me feel because I followed my instinct. So this is where I think it's been interesting to kind of tease apart and see where have I lost sight of that? So I think it's an interesting question. I can come up with a million other examples too, but those are the two ones that come to mind. So here I am wanting to share this new program on death power, which is actually from module 1 of the Dark Feminine program. Interestingly enough, I realized that each of the modules in the Dark Feminine program could be a 6-week course unto themselves. And so I'm very passionate about this topic because I think as a culture, we don't know how to engage with death and we avoid it at all costs, but so much of our power will be unveiled and unleashed and available to us if we learn how to work with death. And I think we're all being called to this too by what's going on in the world. I mean, we're kind of in a death cycle in the world right now as is. So I believe we all need to work with this. So you'll hear more about that soon once I work through my stuff and actually get the marketing out into the world, which again, I'm like, how can I reframe that? Like I'm so used to, one of the things I love to do is to destroy things, basically, to dismantle things, to take them all apart, get underneath them, understand the deeper shamanic underpinnings, as I like to say, and then put it back together in alignment with energetic principles. And I've done that in many places in my life. And I'm trying to do that around launching, because really it's a birthing. It's an invitation. Like, come join me in this party. Who wants to do this deep work with me? And I think it's going to be a powerful invitation. Anyway, I've been bumping up against my own resistances, blocks, I guess. I'm not aware of them because I'm trying to do so much inner work as I go. And it hasn't been flowing, shall we say. So this is another place for me to look. Where am I not trusting my instinct? Because I have so many ideas and I have so much to share. And I think I've just gotten stopped somewhere along the way. So I've gotten some new support to help me in the process. So I'm hoping that's going to really help. So perhaps you'll be hearing more from me soon. But in the meantime, I thought I would just share a little bit behind the scenes of what's going on, of what it's like in my intention to do business differently, to really only do it from alignment, to feel like that place in my soul wants to express. And I'm still working hard. Like, it's not an entitled, thing of like, how do I even say that? Those are the thoughts in my head sometimes. Like, people might think I'm a little delusional, and maybe I am, but I'm deeply committed to figuring out this new pathway, and it's been quite a journey. So all that to say, I'm working through my stuff around marketing to see what's getting caught up in why I haven't been flowing with what I would like to share. And so I ask you, have you been looking at like what might be in the way around you stepping forward and feeling even more freely expressed in your marketing? Dare I say, I mean, so much of this too is like, as I'm bringing Death Power, the program, into the world, I'm dying constantly. And I think sometimes that is a place we need to look of like, how can I die to the old beliefs that I have of how business works? And what does work even mean? Like, what does, when business works, like, if I feel fully expressed, if I've been true to myself, if I've found a way to connect with others, if I've created a powerful experience and transformation, like, isn't that success too? I mean, I know there's like all these other concerns about money and survival and, our basic needs, and also paying team. Like, I know there's so many other things that come in around this topic. And I think it's good to just take a moment to tease it apart. So I invite you, the next time you go to market, to like tune into your body and see what's happening there, and tune into what your instinct might be and see if you can follow that. And I'm going to give that a shot myself too. So stay tuned. You'll be hearing more. Take care.